Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to day 58 of our Bhakti Vaibhava seminar on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4. Today we are beginning chapter 24 of the fourth canto, which is titled Chanting the Song Sung by Lord Shiva. So let's begin by chanting our prayers. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastya Chadeshatarne Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakapatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha, patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Right, devotees, so here we are. Fourth canto, chapter 24, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva. And this is a long chapter. It is a big chapter. 79 verses. The last chapter we did was 23, we just finished. That was three full sessions. 39 verses. This is 79, so you can say it's twice the length. So anyway, let's see how it goes. We're here for relishing the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, okay, there are 5 sections then. First section is verse 1 to verse 15. Which we call the descendants of Prithu Maharaj. Second section is verse 16 to verse 25. The Prachetas meet Lord Shiva. Third section is verse 26 to verse 31. Lord Shiva speaks to the Prachetas. Fourth section, verse 32 to verse 68. That's long. That's 36, 37 verses. And this is called Lord Shiva's Song. What the chapter is titled after. Chapter, of course, is chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva. Then finally, the fifth section, verse 69 to verse 79, Lord Shiva instructs the Prachetas. All right, okay, so here we go, devotees. Let's get into the first section, verse 1 to verse 15, the descendants of Prithu Maharaj. Let's have a look at it. Yes, okay. So we will read the verses first of all. Verse 1, the great sage Maitreya continued, Vijatashva, the eldest son of Maharaj Prithu, who had a reputation like his father's, became emperor and gave his younger brothers different directions of the world to govern, for he was very affectionate toward his brothers. Verse 2, Maharaj Vijatashva offered the eastern part of the world to his brother Haryaksha, the southern part to Dhumrakesh, the western part to Vrika, and the northern part to Dravina. If you remember, there are 5, Maharaj Prithu had 5 sons. So Vijatashva's the chief, and here the other 4, each one gets one part, east, north, west, east, and south. Verse 3, formerly Maharaj Vijatashva pleased the king of heaven Indra, and from him received the title Antardana. His wife's name was Shikandani, and by her he begot 3 good sons. Verse 4. The 3 sons of Maharaj Antardana, and don't forget, this is now Vijitashva, but he is now, at least a lot of the time, maybe all the time, but at least quite a bit, at least, he's going to be addressed as Maharaj Antardana. So the 3 sons of Maharaj Antardana, or Vijitashva, were named Pavaka, Pavamana, and Shuchi. Formerly, these 3 personalities were the demigods of fire, but due to the curse of the great sage Vasishta, they became the sons of Maharaj Antardana. As such, they were as powerful as the fire gods, and they attained the destination of mystic yogic power, being again situated as the demigods of fire. They went back to their previous position, having lost it due to the curse of Vasishta. Verse 5, Maharaj Antardana had another wife named Nabasvati, and by her he was happy to beget another son named Havirdana. Since Maharaj Antardana was very liberal, he did not kill Indra while the demigod was stealing his father's horse at the sacrifice. Verse 6, whenever Antardana, the supreme royal power, had to exact taxes, punish his citizens, or fine them severely, he was not willing to do so. Consequently, he retired from the execution of such duties and engaged himself in the performance of different sacrifices. Verse 7, although Maharaj Antardana was engaged in performing sacrifices, because he was a self-realized soul, he very intelligently rendered devotional service to the Lord, who eradicates all the fears of his devotees. By thus worshipping the Supreme Lord, Maharaj Antardana, wrapped in ecstasy, attained his planet, the Lord's planet, very easily. Verse 8. Havirdana, the son of Maharaj Antardana, had a wife named Havirdani, who gave birth to 6 sons, named Barhishat, Gaya, Shukla, Krishna, Satya, and Jitavrata. Verse 9. The great sage Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, Havirdana's very powerful son, named Barhishat, was very expert in performing various kinds of fruitive sacrifices, and he was also expert in the practice of mystic yoga. By his great qualifications, he became known as Prajapati. 10. Maharaj Barhishat executed many sacrifices all over the world. He scattered kusha grasses and kept the tops of the grasses pointed eastward. 11. Maharaj Barhishat, henceforward known as Prachina Barhi, was ordered by the supreme demigod Lord Brahma to marry the daughter of the ocean named Shatadruti. Her bodily features were completely beautiful, and she was very young. She was decorated with the proper garments, and when she came into the marriage arena and began circumambulating it, the fire god Agni became so attracted to her that he desired her company, exactly as he had formerly desired to enjoy Shuki. Interesting. Okay, anyway, this Prachina Barhishat or Prachina Barhishat, he's known in these different ways. He is going to become an extremely prominent person in at least some of this, what follows from here in the 4th canto. Okay, so there we are, devotees, verse 12. While Shatadruti was thus being married, the demons, the denizens of Gandharvaloka, the great sages, and the denizens of Siddhaloka, the earthly planets, and Nagaloka, although highly exalted, were all captivated by the tinkling of her ankle bells. Verse 13, King Prachinabarhi begot 10 children in the womb of Shatadruti. All of them were equally endowed with religiosity, and all of them were known as the Prachetas. Right, okay. They're the children of King Prachinabarhi or Prachinabarhishat. Verse 14. When all these Prachetas were ordered by their father to marry and beget children, they all entered the ocean and practiced austerities and penances for 10,000 years. Thus they worshipped the master of all austerity, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 15. When all the sons of Prachinabarhi left home to execute austerities, they met Lord Shiva, who out of great mercy instructed them about the absolute truth. All the sons of Prachinabarhi meditated upon the instructions, chanting and worshipping them with great care and attention. Okay, so there you go, devotees. That's the first section. Let's go through it with the purports. Verse 1. The great sage Maitreya continued, Vijitashva, the eldest son of Maharaj Prithu, who had a reputation like his father's, became emperor and gave his younger brothers different directions of the world to govern, for he was very affectionate toward his brothers. So, okay, just to introduce this chapter, this big chapter, well, in this first paragraph, or first purport of this 24th chapter, we get some general sort of elaboration of what happened after Maharaj Prithu. So, Prabhupada says, now after describing Prithu Maharaj, Maitreya begins speaking about his sons and then his grandsons. So first thing, after Prithu passed away, his eldest son Vijitashva became emperor of the world. And he was very nice, he was very affectionate towards his younger brothers. And so he wanted them to rule the different directions, and he gave them the different directions, basically. And as a general rule, Prabhupada says, from time immemorial, the oldest son becomes king after death of the previous king. Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, when the Pandavas ruled the earth, Maharaj Yudhisthira, the eldest son of King Pandu, became emperor, and his younger brothers assisted him. Similarly, King Vijitashva's younger brothers were appointed to govern the different directions of the world. All right, so verse 2. Maharaj Vijitashva offered the eastern part of the world to his brother Haryaksha, the southern part to Dhumrakesh, the western part to Vrika, and the northern part to Dravina. There's no purport here. Verse 3, formerly Maharaj Vijitashva pleased the king of heaven, Indra, and from him received the title Antardana. His wife's name was Shikandani, and by her he begot 3 good sons. So Vijatashtha was known as Antardan, which means disappearance. And he got this name from Indra, after Indra stole the sacrificial horse during Prithu Maharaja's 100th horse sacrifice. So Indra, when he stole the horse, Indra was invisible. But still Vijatashtha saw him, but he didn't kill Indra. This indicates he's very respectful, and he knew who to respect. So, although Indra was stealing, and stealing normally, that's very bad, and a thief will definitely be punished. But Vijatashtha knew he was not an ordinary thief. So therefore, seeing Indra's very important demigod and devotee, Vijatashtha deliberately excused him due to sentiment, even though Indra was definitely wrong. So in this way, Indra became very pleased with him. And of course, demigods have great power. They're able to appear and disappear at will. So Indra gave this power to Vijatashtha. It means, Antaradan means disappearance. We just read at the beginning of the purport here. So thus he became known as Antaradan. Verse 4, the three sons of Maharaj Antaradan were named Pavaka, Pavamana, and Shuchi. Formerly, these three personalities were the demigods of fire. But due to the curse of the great sage Vasishta, they became the sons of Maharaj Antaradan. So therefore, as such, they were as powerful as the fire gods, and they attained the destination of mystic yoga power, and again became situated as the demigods of fire. So yes, Srila Prabhupada gives a purport here, refers to Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 verses 41 to 43, which say that that someone who falls down from yoga practice goes to the heavenly planets, then later comes back to earth and takes birth in a rich family or pious Brahmin family where they can hopefully continue on with their Krishna consciousness. So therefore it's understood that when demigods fall down, they come to earth as sons of rich pious families. And so they get opportunities to do devotional service and go back to Godhead, at least in that lifetime. Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, the sons of Maharaj Antaradan had been the demigods in charge of fire, and they regained their former position, and by mystic power returned to the heavenly planets. Verse 5, Maharaj Antaradan had another wife named Nabaswati, and by her he was happy to beget another son named Havirdan. Since Maharaj Antaradan was very liberal, he did not kill Indra while the demigod was stealing his father's horse at the sacrifice. We already read about that. So Srila Prabhupada begins the purport in really, you could say, quite a striking way. Prabhupada says, it is understood from various scriptures, shastras, Puranas, that Indra, the king of heaven, was very expert in stealing and kidnapping. And he could do so invisibly. Sometimes he would kidnap someone's wife without being detected. Once he raped the wife of Gautama Muni, invisibly. He also stole the horse of Prithu. So, although, of course, by normal standards in human society, such things are abominable, but still Indra is not considered to be degraded by them. Therefore, Antadan didn't kill him, because he knew that if a powerful, special person does something, even something abominable, it should be disregarded. So in this regard, Srila Prabhupada goes on to quote Bhagavad Gita chapter 9 verse 30. And, it's a very important point, actually, really. A very special point. Apichet suduracharo bhajate mamananyabhak sadureva samantavya samyagvya vasatohisa. And Prabhupada just sort of paraphrases a translation. Thus the Lord says that even if a devotee commits an abominable act, he should be considered a sadhu or a pious man because of his unflinching devotion to the Lord. So, and Prabhupada goes on to say that, of course, devotees never willingly do something sinful, but sometimes they may do something wrong due to some previous habits, like that, some momentary weakness perhaps. So these things should not really be taken seriously, because devotees are very powerful, whether they're just on this planet or whether they're in the heavenly planets. So Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, if by chance they commit something abominable, it should not be taken into account, but should be overlooked. Okay, very interesting. Verse 6. Whenever Antadan, this supreme royal power, had to exact taxes, punish his citizens, or fine them severely, he was not willing to do so. Consequently, he retired from the execution of such duties and engaged himself in the performance of different sacrifices. Okay, so it's clear from here, and if we think about it, it's clear. Sometimes the king has to do something undesirable just because he's king. And as an example, Arjuna didn't want to fight because killing family and friends is just not desirable. But nevertheless, sometimes Kshatriyas have to do these things. Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, Maharaj Antadan was not very happy while exacting taxes or punishing the citizens for their criminal activities. Therefore, on the plea of performing sacrifices, he retired from the royal majestic power at a very early age. Verse 7. Although Maharaj Antadan was engaged in performing sacrifices, because he was a self-realized soul, he very intelligently rendered devotional service to the Lord, who eradicates all the fears of his devotees. By thus worshipping the Supreme Lord, Maharaj Antadan, wrapped in ecstasy, attained his planet very easily. His planet means the Lord's planet. And there's a short purport here. So, sacrifices, of course, are usually done by materialistic people. So, therefore, it's mentioned here that for that reason, Antadan externally did them, but actually he was doing devotional service by hearing and chanting. In other words, his sacrifices were done with Sankirtan Yajna. He was quoting, or the Brahmins were quoting Srimad Bhagavatam, like constantly. So, Prabhupada makes the point that devotional service is called Kirtan Yagya. Devotional service is called Kirtan Yagya. And by practicing Sankirtan Yagya, one is easily elevated to the Lord's planet. Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, out of the 5 kinds of liberation, achieving the same planet where the Lord resides and living with the Lord there is called Salokya liberation. Salokya means, Loka means planet, of course. Same planet. Verse 8. Havirdhana, the son of Maharaj Antardana, had a wife named Havirdhani, who gave birth to 6 sons, named Barhishat, Gaya, Shukla, Krishna, Satya, and Jitavrata. There's no purport here, verse 9. The great sage Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, Havirdhan's very powerful son, named Barhishat, was very expert in performing various kinds of fruitive sacrifices, and he was also expert in the practice of mystic yoga. By his great qualifications, he became known as Prajapati. So Prabhupada makes the point just very short. Purport: at the beginning of creation, there were not many living entities in the entire universe. So consequently, powerful ones appointed Prajapatis to beget children and increase the population. Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, there are many Prajapatis. Brahma, Daksha, Manu are sometimes known as Prajapatis, and Barhishat, the son of Havirdhan, became one of them. Verse 10. Maharaj Barhishat executed many sacrifices all over the world. He scattered kusha grasses and kept the tops of the grasses pointed eastward. So previous verse said that Barhishat, the previous verse, was deeply involved in fruitive sacrifices. So that means the implication is, as soon as he finished one yajna, he started another one, just nearby. So there's a need to do that now. There's a need to do that now to purify the atmosphere here in this Kali Yuga, to just, as soon as we finish one yajna, start another. So Prabhupada says, now there's a need to do the Sankirtan yajna all over the world. And just like constantly, practically. Prabhupada says we've been doing this for some time, and wherever we do Sankirtan yajna, thousands of people gather and take part. So imperceptibly, this is auspicious. Yes, imperceptible auspiciousness is created by this, and it should be continued all over the world. So the members of this Krishna consciousness movement should perform Sankirtan yajna all over. So the people of the world will either seriously or jokingly chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And thus they'll derive benefit. Their hearts will be cleansed. So the holy name, so powerful, so wonderful, that whether they chant jokingly or seriously, the effect will be essentially the same. And because it's not possible now to do yajnas as Barhishat did, but we can do Sankirtan yajna. And if the world is flooded with this, the people will be very, very happy, and us as ISKCON members, we'll be very happy also. Verse 11, Maharaj Barhishat, henceforward known as Prachina Barhi, was ordered by the supreme demigod Lord Brahma to marry the daughter of the ocean named Shata Dhruti. Her bodily features were completely beautiful, and she was very young. She was decorated with the proper garments. And when she came into the marriage arena and began circumambulating it, the fire god Agni became so attracted to her that he desired her company, exactly as he had formerly desired to enjoy Shuki. Right, okay, so here Prabhupada makes the point that the word Sishthyalankritam is significant. It means, according to the Vedic, according to the word for word of the verse itself, Sushthyalankritam means sufficiently decorated with ornaments. So according to the Vedic system, when married, the girl is beautifully decorated, etc., and she circumambulates the groom 7 times. After this, they look at each other and become attracted for life. So when the groom finds the bride beautiful, the attraction between them becomes strongly fixed. And as Srimad Bhagavatam says, men and women are naturally attracted, and married attraction becomes very strong. So therefore the husband tries to set up a nice home, a good field for producing grains, or at least a good job for getting money. Then children come, friends come, wealth comes. So therefore a man becomes more and more entangled in the material conception of life and thinks, this is mine, it is I who am acting. In this way, the illusion of material existence is perpetuated. So we have a second paragraph here. Prabhupada says the words, let me just check, the words Shukim Eva are significant. The fire god became attracted to Shata Dhruti while she was circumambulating Prachina Barhi, as he, the fire god, was previously attracted to Shuki, the wife of the Saptarishi. So therefore Swaha, this is interesting, listen to this. So Swaha, who is the wife of Agni, took the same form as Shuki and engaged in sex life with Agni. So it's not only the fire god Agni who's got this tendency to become attracted to sex life, but also Indra, Brahma, Shiva. There are incidents. There are incidents in which these great persons become attracted to sex life. And Prabhupada makes a point here. The sex drive is so strong that the whole material world runs on it. And by it, one remains in the material world. In this way, one is obliged to accept different types of bodies. Krishna. So the attraction of sex life is going to be more clearly explained in the next verse, devotees. So fasten your seat belts. Verse 12. While Shata Dhruti was thus being married, the demons, the denizens of Gandharva Loka, the great sages, and the denizens of Siddha Loka, the earthly planets and Naga Loka, although highly exalted, were all captivated by the tinkling of her ankle bells. Prabhupada makes the point, generally a woman becomes more beautiful when, after an early marriage, she gives birth to a child. And Prabhupada says, to give birth to a child is the natural function of a woman. And therefore she becomes more and more beautiful as she has more and more children. In the case of Shatadruti, however, she was so extremely beautiful, she attracted the whole universe at her wedding ceremony. And ultimately, it was just by the tinkling of her ankle bells that all the demigods were attracted. This indicates that they wanted to see her beauty completely. Of course, they wanted to see her beauty completely, but they didn't have to see a complete beauty. They didn't have to. Yeah. So sometimes it's said that a person becomes lusty just by hearing the tinkling of bangles or ankle bells. That's what happened to Vishvamitra, if you remember. Or even just by seeing the sari of the woman. Thus, Srila Prabhupada says, it is concluded that woman is the complete representation of Maya. Hare Krishna. And Prabhupada mentions Vishvamitra, just heard the bangles of Menaka, became her victim, fathered Shakuntala. So the conclusion is, Prabhupada says, no one can save himself from the attraction of woman, even if he's a demigod from, or he's from the heavenly planets. Yeah. Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, only a devotee of the Lord who is attracted by Krishna can escape the lures of woman. Once one is attracted by Krishna, the illusory energy of the world cannot attract him. That's what's wonderful about Krishna consciousness. Verse 13, King Prachinabhati begot 10 children in the womb of Shatadruti. All of them were equally endowed with religiosity, and all of them were known as the Prachetas. So it's an interesting point just to note that at the wedding, the marriage ceremony, all these different people were just so attracted to Shatadruti. But then when she was married, she was married. And at least there's no mention of any of these other people trying to interfere in their marriage and steal away Shatadruti or do something of that sort. Yeah. So anyway, Prachinabhati begot 10 children in her womb, Shatadruti. They were all equally endowed with religiosity, and they became known as the Prachetas, famous Prachetas. There's going to be a lot more said about them, particularly in this chapter. So Prabhupada says, here the word Dharmasnata is significant. All 10 children were merged in the practice of religion. They all had good qualities. So Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, one is supposed to be perfect when one is perfectly religious, perfect in the execution of one's vows to render devotional service, perfect in knowledge, perfect in good behavior, and so on. And all the Prachetas were on the same level of perfection. Verse 14, when all these Prachetas were ordered by their father to marry and beget children, they all entered the ocean and practiced austerities and penances for 10,000 years in the ocean. Thus they worshipped the master of all austerity, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, yes, let's have a look at the purport here by Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes sages go to the Himalayas to find seclusion from the turmoil of this world. Yeah, but it seems the Prachetas, they went into the ocean, to the depths of the ocean to do their austerities. So since they did austerities for 10,000 years, it's obvious this must be in Satya Yuga, when people lived 100,000 years. It's significant that by their austerity they worship the master of austerity, Krishna. So if you want to do austerities to reach the supreme goal, you must get the favor of the Supreme Lord. And if you get his favor, it's understood you've finished all kinds of austerities and penances, and you've become expert in their execution. But on the other hand, if you don't achieve perfection in devotional service, all your austerities and penances have no real meaning. Because without the Lord, no one can achieve the highest results. So yes, of course, in Bhagavad Gita 5:29, Krishna says he's the master of all austerities and penances and sacrifices, bhaktaram yagya tapasam. So the desired result of austerities is derived from Lord Krishna. There's a second paragraph here. And yes, it's a very important verse. Let me just read it. First of all, the actual Sanskrit, why not? 333.7, Bhagavatam. Aho bata swapacho togariyan, yats jiva gre vartate nama tubhyam, te pustabaste juhuvu sasnor arya, brahmanuchur nama grinanti te. Even if a person is born in a family of chandalas, the lowest birth one can get in human society, he's glorious if he chants the holy names of the Lord. For it is to be understood that by such chanting, a devotee definitely proves that he underwent all kinds of austerities in his previous life. And Prabhupada goes on to say that by the grace of Lord Chaitanya, one who chants Hare Krishna attains the highest perfectional stage, which was previously attained by people who entered the ocean and did austerities. In Kali Yuga, if a person doesn't take advantage of chanting Hare Krishna, which is great concession for this age, it's understood he's very bewildered by Maya, the illusory energy of the Lord. So verse 15, when all the sons of Prachanabarhi left home to execute austerities, they met Lord Shiva, who, out of great mercy, instructed them about the absolute truth. All the sons of Prachanabarhi meditated upon the instructions, chanting and worshipping them with great care and attention. Okay, let's have a look at the purport here. So Prabhupada makes the point that it's clear that to perform austerities and penances or any form of devotional service, chanting Hare Krishna also, one has to be guided by a spiritual master. So here it's said that Prachanabarhi's sons were favored by the appearance of Lord Shiva, who gave them instructions regarding doing austerities. So therefore Lord Shiva actually became their spiritual master. They took his instructions, meditated on them so seriously, they became perfect. This is the secret of success, that after being initiated and getting orders from the spiritual master, the disciple must not allow himself to be disturbed by anything else. That's the verdict of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur regarding Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse 41, that the instructions of the spiritual master become the life substance, the sustenance of the disciple. Disciples shouldn't consider, am I going back to Godhead or not? First business, just execute the order of the spiritual master. So thus the disciple should always meditate on the order of the spiritual master. And that's perfect meditation. Not only meditate on the order, but find out the means to execute it, to worship and execute it. Okay, so devotees, that's the end of the first section. Now we go on to the second section, which is the Prachetas meet Lord Shiva. From verse 16 to verse 25, the Prachetas meet Lord Shiva. So let's read through the verses. Verse 16, Vidura asked Maitreya, my dear Brahman, why did the Prachetas meet Lord Shiva on the way? Please tell me how the meeting happened, how Lord Shiva became very pleased with them, and how he instructed them. Certainly, such talks are important, and I wish that you please be merciful upon me and describe them. Verse 17, the great sage Vidura continued, O best of the Brahmins, it is very difficult for living entities encaged within this material body to have personal contact with Lord Shiva. Even great sages who have no material attachments do not contact him, despite their always being absorbed in meditation to attain his personal contact. But they can't contact him. Verse 18. Lord Shiva, the most powerful demigod, second only to Lord Vishnu, is self-sufficient, although he has nothing to aspire for in the material world. For the benefit of those in the material world, he's always busily engaged everywhere, and is accompanied by his dangerous energies, like Goddess Kali and Goddess Durga. 19. Verse 19. The great sage Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, because of their pious nature, all the sons of Prachinabhari very seriously accepted the words of their father with heart and soul, and with these words on their heads, they went toward the west to execute their father's order. Verse 20. While traveling, the Prachetas happened to see a great reservoir of water, which seemed almost as big as the ocean. The water of this lake was so calm and quiet that it seemed like the mind of a great soul, and its inhabitants, the aquatics, appeared very peaceful and happy to be under the protection of such a watery reservoir. Verse 21. In that great lake there were different types of lotus flowers. Some of them were bluish and some of them were red. Some of them grew at night, some in the day, and some, like the Indivara lotus flower, in the evening. Combined together, the lotus flowers filled the lake so full that the lake appeared to be a great mine of such flowers. Consequently, on the shores there were swans and cranes, Chakravaka, Karandava, and other very beautiful water birds standing about. Verse 22, there were various trees and creepers on all sides of the lake, and there were mad bumblebees humming all about them. The trees appeared to be very jolly due to the sweet humming of the bumblebees, and the saffron, which was contained in the lotus flowers, was being thrown into the air. So these all created such an atmosphere that it appeared as though a festival were taking place there. Verse 23, the sons of the king became very amazed when they heard vibrations from various drums and kettle drums, along with other orderly musical sounds pleasing to the ear. Verses 24 and 25. The Prachettas were fortunate to see Lord Shiva, the chief of the demigods, emerging from the water with his associates. His bodily luster was just like molten gold. His throat was bullish, and he had 3 eyes, which looked very mercifully upon his devotees. He was accompanied by many musicians who were glorifying him. As soon as the Prachettas saw Lord Shiva, they immediately offered their obeisances in great amazement and fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord. So there you go, devotees. Verse 16. So, okay, this is from verse 16 to verse 25. The Prachettas meet Lord Shiva. Verse 16. Vidura asked Maitreya, my dear Brahmin, why did the Prachettas meet Lord Shiva on the way? Please tell me how the meeting happened, how Lord Shiva became very pleased with them, and how he instructed them. Certainly such talks are important, and I wish that you please be merciful upon me and describe them. Let's have a look at the purport here then. Whenever important talks take place between a devotee and the Lord, or just between exalted devotees, we should be curious to hear them. For example, when Sutta Goswami spoke Srimad Bhagavatam to the sages in Naimisharanya, he was also asked about talks between Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadev Goswami. And because the sages believed the talks between Shukadev and Maharaj Parikshit, they understood, they believed the talks between Shukadev and Parikshit, they must be as important as the talks between Krishna and Arjuna. Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, as everyone is still eager to learn the subject of Bhagavad Gita in order to become perfectly enlightened, Vidura was similarly eager to learn from the great sage Maitreya about the talks between Lord Shiva and the Prachettas. So there you go, devotees. We will carry on from this point tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.